I can have your attention again.
I don't think you have a microphone. That's crazy.
Those of you still eating, please continue to do so. I want to acknowledge this is a typical lunch at the high school, and I think they just do an excellent job. So I hope you enjoy it. I also want to acknowledge and thank School Resource Officer Joe Brown, who jumped into action a few minutes ago. We got our microphone set up, so we'll be using that in just a few minutes. But, and Christina Clark, once again, I want to thank you for providing the lunch today. And I'm so pleased that all 6 of the Tullahoma Aldermen are here today. Dr. White, Jackie Duncan, Renee King, Coach Mathis, Mike Stanton, and Ms. Lindemann, Sam Lindemann. We also, of course, Dr. Lawson, I recognized earlier, and there are 2 school board members here, Kim Usselton, Dr. Lynn, is here. We have at least 2 county commissioners here, Kimberly Martin and Barbara Buckner. Where's Barbara?
And Rosemary.
Oh, and Rosemary, I'm sorry, Rosemary Cranford. And Jackie Duncan wears 2 hats. And we're also, our county mayor, Gary Cordell, is here. Thank you, Gary, for being here. Our relatively new district attorney is here, Craig Northcott. Thank you. We have 2 judges with us. We have City Judge Jim Conley, Judge Kim Brock. Thank you. We have our police chief, Blackwell, and our fire chief, Mr. Chastain, here as well. So once again, I just want to thank all of you for your willingness to be here and get involved and be a leader and make something happen. So I'm very pleased now to introduce Ms. McKinney Jones. She is the Director of Prevention Services within the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, right? She's been with the department for 10 years, and she has a master's degree in social work from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville campus, I guess. Okay. Let's welcome Ms. McKinney Jones.
Can you hear me? All right. Well, it's so nice to be here today, and what I just saw, the presentation or welcoming of so many people in your community, proves that this is something you guys are really passionate about and talking about, trying to change the impact of substance abuse on your community. And I'm going to talk in just a second about how substances are impacting our communities in so many ways. So this is really exciting because it's not solved in one area, and you guys are making those connections. So thank you for letting me be here. I'm really excited. I am not Rod Bragg, and I am not Commissioner Varney, but I am really pleased to be here. Commissioner is, the governor is announcing his budget today or tomorrow, and so there were some big meetings going on at Capitol Hill. And then Rod was not feeling well, so I'm really sorry they're both not here. They both expressed their, they were very sorry, their regret. But I'm really happy to be with you and can't wait to talk with you soon. All right, so let's see. I just wanted to give you some stats about the prevalence of substance misuse in the United States. And so it's estimated that in our country, 24.6 million individuals aged 12 years or older are current illicit drug users in 2013, including 2.2 million adolescents aged 12 to 17. And the reason I have Texas on here is because that's actually equivalent roughly to the number of people that live in Texas. which is astounding, really, when you think about it, that many people in our country are abusing substances. The next one is about the number of binge drinkers. And so binge drinking is when you drink more than 4 alcoholic beverages in one setting. And we know it leads to a lot of dangerous consequences, drunk driving, alcohol poisoning, things like that. And so it's certainly not something that we like to talk about. But in 2013, 60.1 million individuals were past month binge drinkers, including 1.6 million adolescents. And so the reason for the sheep is that that's roughly equivalent to the number of sheep in New Zealand. And if you know about New Zealand, that's a lot of sheep, right? So that's the comparison there. So the cost of substance misuse in our country. So the first one is alcohol. Roughly related to alcohol, there's about $191.6 billion related to alcohol cost in our country. And again, this is thinking about all those social ills and what goes into that. Tobacco is leading to $167.8 billion. You got to think a lot of that's for cancer treatment, things like that. And then we've got $151.4 billion associated with illicit drug use and prescription drug use. And again, this is we see those ramifications all throughout our community. Law enforcement's here. You're putting people in prison and in jail for those reasons. If you're from the health community, people are going into the hospital. They're having extended stays. So that's resulting in $510 billion annually of cost associated with substance use in our country. So this is pretty staggering numbers, and I think that's the great reason that your mayor's brought you here today to think about it. So Tennessee, what does it look like in Tennessee? In Tennessee, an estimated 8% of Tennessee adults aged 18 or older abused or were dependent on alcohol or illicit drugs in the past year. So 8%. And an estimated 17% of Tennessee young adults ages 18 to 25 abused or were dependent on alcohol or just illicit drugs in the past year, compared to 6.4% of adults aged 26 and over. How many of you are parents in here? I'll raise my hand. Right. And this 18 to 25-year-old population gets me. I think as I was driving here, I saw Motland, right? And so we really have to think about our students and that really high-risk time in their limes. And we can see from these statistics that they are taking risks. And, that's a very dangerous time in their life. Also, a great time of growth and opportunity, but also a very risky time. So the impact of substance misuse, and I've kind of alluded to some of these things, but substance use increases the risk for injury and trauma, criminal justice system involvement, social problems, mental health consequences, increased absenteeism, and physical health problems. Is it time to change classes? Let's see. And then healthcare costs. Our healthcare costs, we've seen over the past few years, your mayor talked about the document that our commissioner and the governor released earlier or last year, Prescription for Success. And Prescription for Success has some of these stats specifically related to prescription drug problem in our state. And we have some of these full books. So if anybody's interested in having one of these, you can certainly have one. We've got some. But the healthcare cost associated with prescription drug poisoning has increased by about 40% from 2005 to 2010. We also know that the number of people that are going in for prescription opioid poisonings has exponentially increased. And this is a pretty big deal. In 2001, the cost was $4 million and it's increased by 600% to about $30 million in 2011. Those are big numbers. If you're here in the healthcare sector, you're probably feeling that. Overdose deaths, and again, we're talking about these in aggregate numbers, but if this is your loved one, your son, your daughter, your cousin, whoever, then this is a real life impacted. And so we know that these are aggregate numbers, but they represent real lives and real people. And again, the work that you're doing is going to help solve that. So from 1999 to 2010, the number of people dying from drug-related overdoses increased at a greater rate in Tennessee than in the United States. And while there's been an increase of 127% nationwide, in Tennessee there's been a 210% increase in overdose deaths. So Tennessee has a problem with prescription drugs. We know that. In 2012, there were 1,094 drug-related overdose deaths in Tennessee. Criminal justice system involvement. So again, this is a major consequence of drug-related, of taking drugs. Drug-related crimes against property, people, and society have increased by 33% from 2005 to 2012. And then, here are the staggering numbers and that really relate to you as taxpayers and citizens. In 2008, the cost of apprehending, prosecuting, and incarcerating people involved with drug-related crimes in Tennessee was $356.5 million. And adjusted for inflation, that number would be $387.3 million in 2013 numbers. That's costing a lot in our Tennessee communities and homes. This is the one, again, that this one gets me. The number of children in state custody as a result of parental use of substances. We know that about half of all of the children that are in Department of Children's Services custody are there as a result of their parents' drug or alcohol use. That's a big number. That's one that really resonates with me. And we know that prescription opioid abuse is part of the reason the kids are leaving those homes. So this is really important data. I don't know how many of you are familiar with neonatal abstinence syndrome, but that's when basically a baby is born and they are tolerant of those prescription drugs. Their mom has been taking them while the baby's in utero, and so when they're born, they need those prescription drugs and actually have to be detoxed over a period of time. And it's a pretty sad condition from what I hear. The infants, have a pretty distinctive cry. It's a pretty hard situation. They need to be in dark rooms, and it can last for a long period of time. I'll give a stat and just a statistic. A stat is that an infant that gets a normal course of treatment costs about $7,000, but an infant that's born with neonatal abstinence syndrome costs $69,000. So that speaks to the extent of the treatment they're receiving. The other thing that's really important to note is we know that among all the infants that go into TennCare custody, 1.6% were placed in Department of Children's custody within 1 year of birth. However, if you look at that stat for babies with neonatal abstinence syndrome, it goes up. They're 14.8 times more likely to go into DCS custody. So these prescription drugs are really impacting our moms and our babies, our future. And so this is why you're here. I told you a lot of bad stuff, but now here's the good stuff, prevention. And I believe that's why you're here. You're making a prevention plan for your community. So prevention are proactive activities that empower individuals, families, and communities like this one, and systems to meet the challenges of life events and transitions. And here's my really great analogy. I did not come up with this. There's a great poem that led to this, but I don't know if you've seen it before. But our usual approach is that we park this ambulance at the bottom of the mountain, right? And then there's a child on the very top of the mountain, and the child falls down, and the ambulance they're there to pick them up and take them to the hospital, which is good. We want that to happen, right? They get some care. It's very expensive care. The ambulance costs a lot of money, and it is pretty intensive care because the kid's pretty hurt because they had a pretty big consequence from falling from the top of the mountain. But what prevention teaches us to do is to build a fence along the top of the mountain, and so that our children don't have the opportunity to actually fall down and have that really dramatic event occur in their lives. So we're catching them. We're allowing them to stumble, but not to fall. We've got this great fence there to protect them. And that's the beautiful thing that you guys are doing today. You're making a plan so that your children will not stumble and, will not have that dramatic event in their lives. I did want to talk for a few minutes about Prescription for Success, because I think this was such an exciting plan that our governor released last year in the summer. And it is a comprehensive plan that addresses the prescription opioid problem in our state. And one of the really exciting things about it, as you've modeled today, is that many different state agencies came together to make this plan. And so you'll see Department of Health, Department of Children's Services, TennCare, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, Tennessee Department of Correction, the U.S. Department of Justice, their DEA, all came together to be part of this plan around prescription drugs. And so we know not one system, this problem does not exist in one system, and it won't be solved in one system. So this was a wonderful effort by many different departments. The Prescription for Success does three big things. It talks about the extent of the prescription drug problem in the state of Tennessee. It talks about current solutions, because it would be wrong to have people in the state think that Tennessee is not addressing the prescription drug problem, because currently there are some amazing efforts, including these community coalitions like Coffee County. And then also, it's a plan about how to address it into the future. So it's a 5-year plan about how to reduce the prescription drug use in our state. The goals are to decrease the number of Tennesseans that abuse controlled substances, to decrease the number of Tennesseans who overdose on controlled substances, to decrease the amount of controlled substances dispensed, increase access to drug disposal outlets in Tennessee, increase access and quality of early intervention, treatment, and recovery services, expand collaborations and coordination among state agencies, and expand collaboration and coordination with other states. I won't go through all of the specific objectives. If you get one of these books, or if you get into the meat of the executive summary, you'll also see these kind of drawn out in there. But there are some really important ones that I do want to call to your attention. The first one is to support community coalitions, like this Coffee County Community Drug Coalition, and like the Franklin County Community Drug Coalition, and Smith County Community Drug Coalitions that are all represented here today. So to continue to expand those in our state, we currently have 36 community anti-drug coalitions in Tennessee, and the work that those community anti-drug coalitions have been able to accomplish in their communities has been phenomenal. So if we were able to see a community anti-drug coalition just as powerful as this one in Coffee County, in every county in Tennessee, that would be an amazing thing to have accomplished. I don't know how many of you have seen the public information campaign. It's got the pills dropping from the ceiling. Yes, I always felt good. I always say I have never seen that on actual television. I only watch Sprout, and it does not come on Sprout. So if you're like me, you have not seen it, but it is a great commercial, and it speaks to the importance of taking prescription drugs as they are directed by a doctor. So we'd love to expand that campaign. To decrease the number of Tennesseans who overdose on controlled substances. I don't know, I'm sure many of you in here are aware, but one of the things that is a problem is our county coroners are all reporting into different systems, and we don't have a uniform way of reporting deaths and causes of death. And so if we were able to get a uniform system in our state, it would really help us better understand the problems. Also, the last one is really important, to enact a Good Samaritan law. A Good Samaritan law would allow someone who was overdosing on prescription drugs to call and ask for help and not be worried that they were going to be prosecuted. And so a Good Samaritan law is a nice move in the right direction. To decrease the amount of controlled substances dispensed, there's a lot of things around this, but a lot of this is around doctors practicing really great medicine, and we know many doctors practice really great medicine, so that's what this is about. There is this review and revise the Tennessee Intractable Pain Act. The Tennessee Intractable Pain Act is an act that many people feel gives patients a bill of rights when it comes to receiving prescription opioids. And so if we were to amend this rule, it could very likely decrease the amount of prescription drugs dispensed in our state. And there is a law being put into place, I think this year, or asked. They're trying to go to the legislature with that. I'm going to skip very quickly to, let's see, incineration sites. You guys are a great model for that, and have done a lot of that. I'm going to skip, and I'm going to tell you, just give you a quick charge, because you're doing great work today. So the importance of planning, which is the beginning of where you're at today. And I love this quote: if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And you guys are making a wonderful roadmap today for the future of your community, so that you don't end up just going down any old road. And then the final one is, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful people can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. So let those words go with you today and guide your work. And feel amazing that you all are really taking this step. This is the first time I've seen a community come together in this way around prescription drugs. I think it is, around the alcohol and drug problem in the community. I commend you, Commissioner and Rod both commend you, and thank you for your good work, and thank you for letting us be a part of it.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny Jones. Appreciate you very much for being here. I want to continue with my acknowledgments and thank yous. I'm very, very pleased that our president of Montville State Community College is here, Mary Lee Raffle. We also have at least 3 principals here. We have Mickey Sharan is here, and Kathy Rose. He had just basically been floated in and out, and Miss Eames, Debbie Eames from Peace Village. Also very pleased that Jeff Lewis with Lamar Alexander's office is here. Okay, what we're going to do now is, Mr. Kenny Jones, if you were to come back up, and Chief Blackwell, and Christina Clark, we're going to open it up for some questions, comments that you might have. We'll do that for maybe a few minutes, and then Mr. Clark is going to walk us through. We're going to break out very quickly into some 8 or 9 breakout sessions over in the library right next door, and there'll be someone at the table to facilitate each of the conversations. Okay, so this is Chief Blackwell. Chief Blackwell, thank you. Christina Clark, who is the director, executive director of the Coffee County Drug Coalition, and of course you've heard this Mr. Kenny Jones. Any questions or comments that anyone has? Dr.
I'm approved by the state to teach 19 different courses in chemical dependency and substance abuse. And I have worked at 7 different hospitals, many that include alcohol, drug rehab units. Just like many of you here, I've seen family members or friends that have expired or have had their life ruined by walking down that path. But I tell you, this is what I feel, and I feel it right in my heart with all my soul. The gospel of Jesus Christ is the thing that can turn this around. If a person takes full advantage of the atonement, what they do, they repent fully and completely of their sins before God. They don't have the guilty conscience. They forgive people who have offended them. That is the way to success. Help these children realize their divine potential, that they're a son or daughter of God. Help them to realize that they can achieve great things. Take the Holy Spirit for their guide. Leave the past behind. Move forward. I know it will work, and I pray that we'll include that in any plan for success. I know it. I've lived it. Thank you.
One other quick announcement. Several of you, because of the line, I think came directly into the room. So I'm going to pass around the sign-up sheet. If you've already signed in, you'll need to do so again, of course. But if you've not, please note your name and email and organization.
Yeah, just to address Dr. Lynn, yes, faith-based is a huge thing. With for those of you who aren't familiar, thank you. For those of you who aren't familiar with community coalitions, I know a lot of you are coalition members with us, but there are some new faces in the room. Coalition are really the mortar and the brick walls is what we call it. So you have like treatment in churches, and we're kind of the thing that connects it all together to get all what we say, the dominoes leading in one direction. But faith-based is a huge part of what we call our 12 sectors, so it's really important with us to work with local churches, and one of the breakouts later will be a faith-based section where we are going to discuss that, led by my prevention coordinator, Christina Marino. So thank you.
Thank you. You know, I do believe education has a great part in it. Of course, I remember as an 18-year-old seeing a picture of two lungs, one with cancer from a smoker, one with not. It left a lasting impression on me. I still remember that.
Me too.
Other comments, ideas, questions? Chief Blackwell, do you have anything prepared to say? Looks like you've got something to tell.
I don't need that microphone.
He wants you to have it out back,
Who
or
does?
like to.
We have deaf people in the room.
Okay. Again, I want to express my thanks to the mayor and the Coffee County Drug Coalition for sponsoring this and getting it together, because obviously the problems of drugs, be it alcohol, the illicit drugs that Angela talked about, and the prescription pills, crosses all economic stratuses in our community. Nobody is immune to this. And what we see is that as a result of that, there's abuse, addiction, dependence, tolerance, all those type of things that are the consequence of that. Families are affected, communities are affected, so it's very important that we work as a partner, because the police alone can't do it, the courts alone can't do it. It has got to be definitely a community project and a community partnership. One of the things the mayor talked about is last year, the drug take-back box, we collected 411 pounds of prescription medication. This is 1 pound of prescription medication. Multiply that 411 times. That's what has been turned into us last year. The year prior to that, we collected 422 pounds. Manchester has a drug take-back box. The sheriff's office has a drug take-back box. Can you only imagine what the 3 law enforcement agencies are receiving from the public just by turning it in and having a safe way to get rid of it? Because what we know is that if it remains in your house, it's going to be stolen, it's going to be abused, and it becomes an opportunity for our young people to get it and to become abusive with it. There's a thing called farming, and that's when kids have their parties and there's a large bowl put out there. Everybody throws their medication in it that they brought. And through the night, the people at the party just take handfuls without knowing what it is or the consequences of their use. So it's very important that we not hide our heads in the sand like ostriches. And we have to address this. We have to be proactive. Just as Angela said, we can't just sit and wait at the bottom of the hill and wait for them to fall. We have to put that fence up, be proactive. My last comment, I'm going to give kudos to Mike Lewis and Judge Brock. They have the Coffee County Drug Court. And if you've not had the opportunity to go to that, every time I go, it brings tears to my eyes to see people, young people, family members, that have gone through an extremely rigorous program, and to come out of it, tell their stories of how it affected both their family and themselves. And we have an excellent opportunity for our judges to use that program and address it. And again, Mike Lewis, Judge Brock, and some of the others in here see this firsthand every day, and they will confirm it's not just our young people, it's everybody can be affected by this. So I applaud you all for being out here, because the partnership between the communities is the only way we're going to be able to attack this and be successful at it. Thank you.
Judge Brock, Mr. Lewis, your name's recalled. The floor is yours. If you'd like.
Chief's right. We see the impact of this on a daily basis. Mike more than me. He deals with our clients, our clientele. Drug abuse, it is devastating. It's not done. You don't live on an island when you do this. It destroys families. It destroys careers. It kills people. So, without getting into a lot of details, all I can It's a significant problem. I wouldn't say it's a problem that's had any great acceleration over the last few years. I was talking with General Northcott as we came in the store today, and we've seen drugs come and go over the years. It's like that old game of whack-a-mole, and you knock one down, you see another one pop up. So the opioid dependence is a huge problem. We've seen that mushroom in the last 6, 7, or 8 years. I think the overdose issue is a big issue. There need to be some things done with that. I think there's some relatively easy things that can be done to help that. But nonetheless, it's a big problem. It's not a simple problem, but it affects everyone. It affects everyone here. There's probably not a person in this room who has not been, I would say, directly affected somewhere in their family by either alcohol or drug dependence. So it's a big issue, but Mike's doing a great job. I'm glad to have him. He's doing a good job.
Mr. Lewis, anything to add?
Well, I like to say it's great being a part of a community that's approaching this from a holistic standpoint, not only on the backside as far as treatment and criminal justice system, but also on the front side what the Anti-Drug Coalition is doing on the front end, trying to interrupt any path that would lead to abuse. And so we're in a community that's kind of hitting on all the cylinders because we work together.
Thank you. General Craig Northcott, your name was mentioned as well. I'll give you an opportunity to comment.
I do want to commend the work they do in the drug court. I echo Dr. Winston that there's only one solution to any problem we face, and it's consistent intake and application of the Word of God. But as a community, we have the duty to have the resources available when they're asked for. And I think the drug court is a great example of that. And Linda Baker here from Probation as well. She has a wonderful underage treatment program that she administers that tries to teach kids at a young age the problem with underage drinking and the problem and the possible consequences that come from that without, we're talking 18 years old to 21 years old, without getting an adult criminal record. So I rely on her quite a bit to help in that arena as well. But it does. It takes the community. First step in any of this, of course, is the addict, the offender, to recognize their need for help and want it. And we can't want it for them until they want it for themselves. It's an uphill battle. And Mike Lewis does a great job of screening people out on the road to make sure that they're willing to do the work, because it is a lot of work that they face with the drug program. But I thank you all for being here. I thank you all for any assistance that you can give us. My office is certainly open to any ideas that you might have to help us better shape the situation. Thank you.
Mr. Northcott, I'm not familiar with the person, the program that you just mentioned. You pointed to someone.
Linda Baker, she's on the other side.
The program that we are doing, I had the opportunity, first of all, to work with Chief Blackwell over the summertime at the Drug Coalition. And I know he's very passionate about helping our young people in the community, but as we said, it affects other people besides just our young people. But we have an underage consumption program for ages 18 to 20 that comes in the criminal justice system. And part of that goal is prevention. And I reach out to Solutions, Tammy Rohan Henderson with Solutions, as well as Centerstone has been great to provide the other aspect of that. So on one part of it, they're getting education, and on the second part of it, they're getting some actual rehab for that program. And while they're doing that, they are coming into my office and being supervised and drug screened for a period of time. And then at the end of that program, if they complete that program, they do not have an adult criminal record. And that is the goal for prevention and education.
jumpers as part of that process to assist them in the drug court process. And like Chief Blackwell said, it's really impressive. The lives are saved. The reason for saying that is saying to you all, anybody's interested in assisting us, please contact either Jackie, myself, or Mike Lewis. We'll be glad to push your buttons and support you.
Other questions, comments? Yes, Jim?
I just want to say I was excited about the paper that went around with the text information about kids getting anonymous tips out. I really like your presentation and love to think that we could build a fence around the mountain, but we can't. We should try that, you know. But one of the biggest problems I've seen raising 4 kids here in 11 years is not talking about what they see. So education in the school system, and I talk to my kids all the time, and they'll know there's a drunken party here or a drunken party there. And parents, we've got to do a better job. A lot of times we know about this drinking. A lot of times it's happening in the homes with parents' knowledge. And sadly, it doesn't get anybody's attention until a child is killed in a car accident, which thankfully hasn't happened recently in our community. But we've got to get our kids to see that kids are dying from falling off the mountain and get them to talk about it. They're the ones on the mountain, on the front lines. And I think that text, which everybody got a paper on, is a great start. But then you've got to talk to your kids and educate them about, you go ahead. Because I know my kids, I'm not telling on my teammates, I'm not telling on my classmates, and sadly, they won't until someone dies. So I think whoever put that initiative together, I think that's a great start.
Thank you so much for all of your points, because we do want to work with parents so much, and we work with faculty, the school systems, the coalition does, to make sure we get the word out about speaking to your kids, and we have to work even harder at that. But Chief Blackwell and I, for 4 years, have been working on this tip. We're working on something even newer that will hopefully be even easier to use, but that's why we wanted it, for people to not to be able to tell us about underage drinking parties. That was ours. But we also know that teachers and faculty hear it in the hallway, and we want them to feel that they can call and tell people, so we can stop the party before it starts. So like you said, and one of the things I wanted to say to Mayor Curley and Chief Blackwell was, this is so important because we're doing it before something so horrible happens. Usually we wait in communities to lose one of our young ones, and to be preventative on this end, to start having that conversation, I think is really important. And you'll see as we break into these groups, some of the stuff we're talking about is getting this information to parents about skill building, making sure we're getting that parenting component out there, because we know it's so important.
All right, you got the floor. Go ahead and get us organized.
Okay. Breakout session, you'll see when we go into the library, there'll be table tents for businesses, and you'll have a table facilitator. They already know who they are. Business, education, health, concerned citizens, nonprofits. So you'll just pick there's also a veteran table. And if you're interested in assisting the drug court, Mike Lewis will actually be heading up that table for us. So if you're interested in both veterans and drug court, please see that table. But you'll see in your packets, they're going to lead you through the table facilitators. But one of the things you will see is the 7 strategies for community change. Is one of the things you'll be going through with your facilitators. And it's easy to get hung up on the first 1 through 4. But I want to tell you, the most important is 5, 6, and 7. We know in order to create community change, we have to change the policies in our communities, because it makes the biggest. We need programs, yes. Drug court is incredibly important. Underage consumption program is incredibly important. We are proud to be involved. But to hit the mass majority before something happens, we need to be looking at some policy change and just environmental changes that can happen. So each of those groups are going to go over that with you, and we really want this to become a plan that we can publish. Obviously, we're not going to have that happen today. But we would like to bring back people in each sector to work with us in developing what will be a Tullahoma City plan for a drug-free community. So please, if you are interested in being one of those emerging leaders, talk to your table facilitator. And if you have any questions on data or anything else comes up, please let your facilitator know. We can get all that. The coalition surveys all 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th graders in all 3 school systems, so Manchester, Tullahoma, and Coffee County schools. So if you're interested in data from your kids' perspective, everything from if they thought about suicide in the last 2 weeks, to why they're using, we have that. So if you're having those discussions at your table, make sure you tell your table facilitator.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Clark, very much. And we want to try to accomplish two things. We're looking for some solutions, we're looking for ideas, which we'll present back to this group in the near future. We're also looking for, as Ms. Clark said, emerging leaders, someone that wants to help lead this effort in Tullahoma. Okay, so if everyone would just quick